always panic and think, did I forget anybody? I didn't. I'm going to throw an honorable mention here now that I'm starting part 2 of this video. With an honorable mention to Logan Couture, who was hurt for a large portion of this season. And still, when he's at his best and everything's going the right way in San Jose, he can be one of the best centers in the game. So while I don't have him in the top 25, he is one of my favorite members of the Sharks. That's the reason why I'd be wearing a Sharks jersey in that last video. I was like, all right, so I'm going to wear Sharks because an honorable mention is going to go to Couture. And then as soon as I was done filming it, I was like, oh, yeah, right, yeah, whoops. So I apologize to Sharks fans everywhere. That's okay. Everybody will just look at that video and go, why is he wearing a Sharks jersey? And go watch part 2. Smart plan in there, right? They have 4-dimensional chess. All right, so we're going to start off again at number 12. So these are the elite centers in the NHL, right? So number 12, Pederson in Vancouver. Pederson is just getting started. Pederson is going to end up, I think, being one of the top 6. I'll say top 6, maybe top 8 centers in the NHL. I don't know how much further he can go than that. He's not going to be McDavid. He's not going to be Crosby. He's not going to be McKinnon. I know I'm spoilers that I would think those were the best centers in the game. But Pederson, for me, last year he wasn't on the list. Obviously, the year before that he wouldn't have been on the list either. So starting off at 12 isn't too shabby. And he showed Vancouver fans in the playoffs what he could do. And it's impressive. And so while the Sedins are remembered as 2 of the best players in Canucks history, arguably tied as the best player in Canucks history, there was always that difference in the playoffs, which I think with Sedins was about the team not having the right support players. But Pederson seems to be able to just fight through and get those points. We'll see how much more difficult that gets for him in coming years. But it's an exciting time. Number 11. Sebastian Aho. I did not have Aho in my top 20 in 2018. I did not have Aho in my top 15 in 2019. I remember Carolina fans being kind of snippy. Well, there you go. He's number 11. Sebastian Aho this year was just fantastic. And we get into these centers, and you get into the top 12, you're looking at guys who can take over a game. Barkov slipped out of the top 12 for me this year because that wasn't as apparent this year as it had been the year before. Where they just, the puck's on their stick and you go, all right, so that's either going in the net or we're going to get a stoppage. So there's no way anybody's going to get that puck off their stick. And Aho is getting to that level where he is just able to wind his way through everybody and put it home. So I think that Aho is a fantastic young center as well. Notice the first 2 centers on the board here are pretty young. Number 10. So when I did the goaltenders, Tampa Bay had number 1. Defense, Tampa Bay had number 1. Wingers, Tampa Bay had number 1. There will be people watching this and going, how did he get Brayden Point to number 1? I didn't. He's at number 10, though. Last year he was number 11. The year before that he was not in the top 20. Brayden Point showed in the playoffs just how fantastic he can be. For me, I still think Kucherov was more of the driving force offensively for that team. But Brayden Point is a first-line center in his own right. And Brayden Point's development is a big part of the reason why you could totally understand if they said, we need cap space, we could trade Stamkos. And I know it's bizarre, and I did the video, and people are like, why are you talking about this? Because depth-wise, they could do it. You could trade Stamkos because Point's that good. Because Cirelli, who's not on the board, has the potential to be that good as well. So for Tampa, it's an embarrassment of riches. It's just a matter now of getting all those riches to fit under a salary cap. That's where the issue is if you're Tampa. So, yeah, I have Point at number 10. Number 9. Yeah, I'll put him at 9. So again, looking back to last year, the question was asked about Zibanejad, who was not in my top 15 last year, nor was he in the top 20 the year before. Yeah, Zibanejad arrived this year. Mika is fantastic. That is one move that, if you look at the Ottawa Senators over the last 5 years, I think keeping Mika in that lineup would have been the smart move. Zibanejad's a legit first line center, and he really came into his own this year. This was quite the season. He can follow that up, and if he and Panarin can keep up the kind of numbers they had this year for the Rangers, sky's the limit. Because now they're going to have the goaltending, and it looks like their defense is rounding into form as well. The Rangers could be dangerous. I know I've said that before, but I'm saying it again because it's true. Number 8. So last year I had Malkin at 15, which broke Penguins fans. The year before I had Malkin at 3. So this year I've just kind of split the difference, kind of sort of made him 8th. Malkin had a better year. 2018, 2019, Malkin looked disinterested at times. This year he looked much better. And he should be motivated to, go out there this year for Pittsburgh and prove he's still amongst the best centers in the entire National Hockey League. So yeah, Malkin, I have him at 8th this year, so he moves up 7 spots from last year. This is why there's some dramatic moves out of the top 12, is because there's some dramatic moves into the top 12. Not listed, not listed, not listed. That means 3 guys have to come out of the top 12 that were in it last year, and now Malkin moves up from 15. At number 7, and this one was kind of tough, but I can't argue him beneath that number, and I can't argue him ahead of it, and that's Patrice Bergeron. Do not call it the perfection line. Just don't, because they're not perfection. If they were perfect, the Bruins would win the cup every year. And I'm not trying to be facetious. It's just there's no such thing as perfection. But Bergeron is as close to it as you're going to get in a forward. He will miss games with injury here and there, but his points per game over the last few years have been the best in his career. And he seems to just keep getting smarter and better as his career goes on. So Bergeron last year I had at 4. In 2018 I had him at 12. This year I have him at 7. Because to me the top 6 centers, I don't have him on that list. He's just not there. Number 6. So we're getting into the big names here. Number 6, Jack. The jersey I'm wearing, Jack Eichel. Eichel last year, I had him at 10. The year prior, I had him at 13. This year, I have him at 6. So that whole beast mode thing about how they can put the puck on their stick and good luck, it starts with Eichel. All 6 of the top 6 are able to do this. Just take over the game. You're like, okay, and we're going to watch. And it is part of the reason why EA can't create a video game of ideas that's going to inspire us, because the top 6 centers can do things in real time much better than any AI ever could. The creativity is something that an AI can't really come up with like these players can, obviously. Standards might be a little bit too high sometimes with video games. But yeah, Eichel, number 6, fantastic all-around game, and as long as he's in Buffalo, we're going to feel bad when Buffalo isn't great, because Eichel's fantastic. But that could change this coming season, right? Buffalo could get a lot better. Number 5. Austin Matthews. Matthews may very well be the best goal scorer in the league this coming season. I think Leon Draisaitl, as great a year as he had, I don't know that he's going to be able to do that every year. Maybe he can. But Austin Matthews, I think, is capable of 50 goals a year minimum. And the weird thing about it is that Matthews is going to be one of those guys who scores 50 goals. He'll get about 85, 90 points. And at the end of the year, there's still going to be people that say, yeah, but. Because Austin Matthews is somebody who's going to inspire a lot of debate. And there's always going to be somebody who takes that negative side of the debate with Matthews and wants to talk about, well, remember that one game back in November when he made that boneheaded play? That's why I don't think he's an elite level center. There's always going to be that argument, but Matthews is fantastic. And, he is the present and the future for Toronto. If Toronto wants to maintain their position in the league as a potential contender, they have to keep Matthews. So when Matthews' contract is up a couple years down the road here, watch for some panic if Dubas is still in charge to try to keep him happy and keep him in the city, because Matthews really is, I think he's that good. Number 4. Leon Draisaitl had the best year this year of any player. He did. That's why he won the Hart. That's why he won the Lindsay. And he won the Art Ross. He won a lot of hardware. Leon Draisaitl was not on this list last year. Last year he was on the winger list, which shows you how far he's come as a forward. That now he's a center. He anchors his own line, and he anchors it very well. Put up a ton of points. A huge amount of points this year. But there are 3 centers in the National Hockey League that I would still put ahead of him. There are 3 centers in the National Hockey League I still would say are ahead of Draisaitl. I have never had Draisaitl on the centers list before, and now he's number 4. Matthews, on the other hand, Matthews was 8 last year. He was 9 the year before, and so it shows again that there's been a large shift on the list this year. And it feels like this may end up being, these top 6 could be the top 6 again next year. Number 3. Let the debate rage. I have Crosby at number 3. Now, I did a video this week on Crosby versus McDavid, because that's the argument everybody's always going to have. Crosby, 3 Stanley Cup rings. Crosby's 10 years older than McDavid. Crosby's done some amazing things in his career. McDavid seems to be on the cusp of a lot of those same things. Now, you can have the debate about McDavid versus McKinnon, but you're kind of comparing apples to apples, since Colorado hasn't won anything yet either. So, with Crosby, he is the biggest name in the game, even still. I would still say that in terms of name recognition, Crosby's number 1 of all the hockey players currently playing. And I have him at 3 on the list because I do think the other 2 centers in their overall game are better than him. And yet, as I said in the McDavid-Crosby video, Game 7, 3rd period, tie game, who do you want on the ice? I would have a really hard time making any argument at all not to have Crosby out there. But at this point, he's 3rd. He was 3rd last year, and he was number 2 the year before that. So Crosby's still an elite level center, and if this channel had gone back far enough, he would have been number 1 for years running. Number 2. Nathan McKinnon. Colorado, they're on the cusp. The thing that I think is too bad with McKinnon, I can close this now. The thing I think that's too bad with McKinnon is that when they get eliminated, I still see posts like, well, they're never going to win anything with McKinnon. Nah, McKinnon's just a loser. What in the world? Did they watch the playoffs? He had a point in every single game they played except the last game. So for McKinnon, honestly, he was on pace to potentially threaten Gretzky's points record in the playoffs. And he could have done it. He absolutely could have. Nathan McKinnon is that good. And at some point, he will hold up a Stanley Cup. It's going to happen. That the Colorado Avalanche will end that drought. And maybe they'll be wearing Nordiques-themed colors when they do it. But McKinnon, absolutely one of the beasts of the game. One of the best players in the game. Bests. Don't say bests. That's not good. Don't do that. But yeah, Nathan McKinnon I have at number 2, which means number 1. So we have this debate a lot. But I'm gonna say this honestly. I don't have a debate in my mind when it comes to the best player in the game. I know how well Draisaitl played this year. I know what Draisaitl did. It was fantastic. If he does it again next year, if he's better than Crosby or better than McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby next year, then he probably ends up number 1 on the list. But in the big moments, Edmonton's still going to turn to McDavid. It is still his team. It's no slight on Draisaitl, just like it's no slight on Malkin that Crosby's better than he is. And it is a very similar situation there, where Crosby, Malkin, they have coexisted for many years, and it has been accepted that Crosby's a better player than Malkin in most cases, most seasons. McDavid, will outscore Draisaitl over their careers, in all likelihood. Leon's great, but to me, McDavid is the best player in the game. And I didn't see anything this year to tell me he's not still the best player in the game. Was he better than Draisaitl to the point where he wins the awards? No. No. Do I have any problem with Draisaitl winning the awards? No. But I still think McDavid's the best player in the game. And I still have him number one on the centers list. So there you go. And that's why I split this in half, because I thought the video is going to take well over half an hour if I do 1 through 25. So I wanted to do 13 through 25 and then 1 through 12. So there you go. And if I missed your center, I apologize. They're clearly one of the best 25 in the game, or 27, I guess, because I had the honorable mentions, or 28 because I included Couture. So I apologize for missing your favorite center along the way. But there you go. The 2020 list is done. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.